The audio you're about to hear was recorded in Anchor. Learn more at anchor.fm.
Hi everyone, this is Aaron. Today is Tuesday, January 16th, 2018. I'm recording from my car and you are listening to the Soundwords podcast. There is an article on Christianity Today. It's called How Podcasting Hurts Preaching. And the gist of this article is that churches should not be broadcasting or podcasting their sermons because it decreases the value of the sermon itself. Here is a key quote from that article. It says, "By its very nature, podcasting the sermon reduces the entire liturgy and purpose of church as the corporate meeting of Christ's bride to simply listening to a sermon. Despite congregations' best intentions to serve those who can't or simply won't show up on Sunday, their efforts sell these audiences short." I have a couple reasons why I think that this article is wrong, and all of my arguments stem from this fact. There's a false assumption in this article, and the false assumption is that the listener of these podcasts does not understand the importance of the church. To put it more bluntly, the person who wrote this article already assumes that people who listen to podcasts do not understand the purpose and function of actually going to church, and therefore already defaults to the attitude that, listening to podcasts is enough. I believe that's a false assumption. Now, just because I believe that that's a false assumption does not necessarily mean that it might be true for others. However, it does not hold true for me, and I believe that the way to actually correct this problem or to combat this false assumption is to get to the root issue, and that is to be teaching and telling your church members the importance of physically attending church and physically being present to listening to the sermon. Once that is in place, then podcasting sermons does not become a priority. It actually becomes a positive help in the lives of church members. So here's my first argument, or my first point that I would like to make, and that is that if the podcast listener already has the correct assumption of church being a priority and physically attending church is important, then podcasting actually helps preaching. And the reason is because podcasting highlights the importance of going to church. Podcasting actually highlights the importance of going to church. The first reason I make this statement is because as a listener, I understand that the podcast sermon is broadcasted as a live sermon. I'm missing out on something that happened live, something that happened before. And therefore, I am missing out not on the content, but on the actual experience of listening to it with the congregation. Secondly, I understand as a listener that the sermon is not the only thing that takes place when I attend church. I am missing out on taking communion. I am missing out on singing songs. I am missing out on corporate prayer. So I think that the first step that we need to take is to acknowledge that not everyone operates under the assumption that the sermon is the only thing that takes place in church. Thanks for listening to the Soundwords podcast. I've already spoken for too long. I'll continue this tomorrow. Bye.
The audio you just heard was recorded in Anchor. Learn more at anchor.fm.